Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Sermon with Ola. This is the 26th episode. Merry Christmas. I hope you had a good one. Compliments of the season, all of that. And yeah, man, I had a good one. I had a fantastic one. It's been good. It's been great to spend time with family. It sucked at times. I really hated not being able to see extended family. The lack of social interaction outside of my immediate home has been tough this time for me. I think the first couple times we did lockdown, I was like, I could use this break. This time, I'm like, I actually really want to hang out with people now. This is tough, but we got through it. We survived. Thank you to everybody who tuned into last week's episode. Last week's episode was big. Oh my goodness. The feedback after the episode, over the course of that Sunday, I was getting messages from people like, yo, oh my goodness, like this was such a good episode, blah, blah, blah. And then on the live as well, the live went for a full 4 hours. It was like, since they increased the limit from 1 hour to 4 hours, I haven't imagined that I would need to get to the point where I'm like, oh, we're running out of time. But that was nuts. It was so good. Everybody really had some great contributions to make. I really felt like the sisters were listening to what the brothers were saying. I feel like the brothers were really speaking up. I feel like we had mums speaking, we had sons speaking. Um, it was all in all, I think one of my favorite altogether packages, like podcast and live. So that was good. Thank you guys, and as always, thank you all the patrons who support on Patreon from as little as £3 a month. Just valuing the work and just say, look, I want to put something towards it. I appreciate that. And to those of you that share it and tell people about it and say, hey, jump on a live, or hey, listen to Ola, check him out, or like listen to his podcast. You'll get it when you listen to it. Like, it's a vibe. I love that. Thank you guys. Thank you all so much. All right. I done did the thank yous from the bottom of my heart, by the way. I also want to say thank you to everybody who's sort of interacted with me and welcomed me over on Clubhouse. I mentioned this a couple of times, when I got the iPhone now, so I'm brand new, and then I joined in on Clubhouse, and this week for the first time on Wednesday, I started a room for the first time. And for those of you who aren't aware of Clubhouse, it's a social media app or social networking app, which is just like an audio group chat, right? You can just jump into a room where people are discussing things, and basically you only hear people's voices, but people are talking on all kinds of subjects, and there are some helpful ones, there are some toxic ones, there are some useless ones, there's some very useful ones, there's some good natured ones, there's some bad vibes ones. It's like literally you don't know what you're going to get 100%, but what I do like about it is that it presents an opportunity. So for something like this, where I like to encourage discussion, like Clubhouse is a great place to get involved. And shout out to Ade from Blackticulate, who was the one that actually, go check out his podcast Blackticulate. He was the one that said, like, bro, you might want to get on Clubhouse, and even gave me the invite. So much love to everybody who jumped on that one. That Clubhouse room, I think we started it about, I want to say about 9 p.m. And when it got to about 11, I was like, okay, I'm gonna lock this off because I don't want it to drag. Like that's what can happen with some of these rooms. Get to the point where everybody's sort of sitting inside and going, yeah. The ones where it's not really, the conversation's not going anywhere. I didn't want that to happen. When it got to 11, I was about to lock it off, and I left, and then I was like, oh, I haven't actually ended the room. I was about to go in and basically shout out to Emily. Emily was there, and Emily was like, yeah, I'll just keep it running for a bit if people still want to chat. Do you know I found out the next morning that room ran till almost 6 a.m.? And some of the same people were there all the way through. That is mad to me. That, just a small discussion topic I wanted to throw out there, which is we're going to discuss today on the podcast, ended up going for so long, which means that, the topic's clearly hitting hard with people, and people want to know. People want to connect, and I really believe that. And providing a good vibes, a good natured place to have a discussion, I think is the main part of this assignment in my life is to do the mental gymnastics. Obviously, I have an opinion myself, but I do the mental gymnastics of understanding different people's opinions and positions so that I can facilitate a discussion. If that's my lot in life, I'm more than grateful for it. But I'm very grateful for those who've trusted in my ability to do so, either by jumping on our Instagram lives or on Clubhouse. So, what do we discuss on Clubhouse? I titled the room "Sisters, Please Come and Teach the Brothers to Be Sexy," in brackets, realistically. We've had this discussion many times, but even on the Instagram lives, where sisters' definition of what's sexy is just so unrealistic. Is like, I always hear like this blend between like the roads and the boardroom. So it's like he used to sell drugs, and he rose to the top and walked away and traded it in for a life of corporate success, and now he's a CEO and brings in a steady 6 figures plus. And I'm just like, all right, sis. We know the vast majority of people on the roads do not turn into corporate CEOs, and I know Ghost from Power is maybe your ideal guy or whatever, but like, let's be real. What can the average brother do that's actually going to be sexy? Now, I spend a lot of time qualifying this conversation because I feel like it can easily get derailed. There's things that guys can do that are cute, that are romantic, that are adorable, and those things are good as well. But I think as a guy, and I don't know if this is just me, but sometimes you want to tap into that raw, visceral, sexual attraction in women. You want to be sexually desired by a woman. And here's the thing, I am aware that on most occasions, all my readings and listening to seminars and stuff have told me that for women, it's not disconnected. It's like it's all tied in. So guys like to compartmentalize, but for women, it's like as she feels secure with you, and as she goes to trust you and love you, and you romance her, then her libido, grows and blah blah blah. And I agree with that in a long-term context. However, every day women are sleeping with rappers. What's going on? Every day. Every day, women are having affairs. They are sleeping with guys who they just can't seem to give up. And they are sleeping with guys they know they shouldn't. And they are sleeping with guys who they find just so sexually appealing. And correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but like after a while, you're like, I want what that guy's got. If you even if your missus is telling you, oh, you're lovely, and I admire you, or whatever it is, you're like, yeah, but what about that guy? Like, what about the way you scream over that guy? After you've seen women throw themselves at guys, you start to ask yourself, and I'm really doing housework, taking dates, doing all of this so that she can possibly maybe be interested in me? I don't like this deal. I don't like this deal. It's a tough one to swallow because it's like, no pun intended, but it's like you don't. It's not like you want to give up on the love and respect of your wife, but you want that raw sexual attraction, and that's something that you often get very early on, whether it's honeymoon phase or whether you started having sex before you got married or whatever it was. You experience something, just that passion to like rip each other's clothes off or whatever it is. Then as a guy, it's like you just go through life, and especially if you go like the committed route, like myself, you start to ask yourself like, yo, what happened, man? What happened? It feels like when they defang snakes or when they declaw animals, they take their claws away. It's like part of what makes these creatures so majestic is that they are deadly. And we're like, yeah, I want that, but without any sense of danger. I want it all safe and sanitized. So I'm taking away any sort of edge that they have. And it feels like that's what the process of making a husband is. That's what it feels like. I know that there's some element to which we all need to be refined and we all need to mature, but there's an element to which it feels like you're just taking on this journey of making you the least sexy person possible. And I've often felt like for wives wives turn their husbands into the exact person they don't want to have sex with. I'll tell you why I say that. And I always use this example. I was in Singapore, and I said this on the Clubhouse room. I was in Singapore on tour with another comedian. And Singapore is a place where there's a lot of wealth. So there's a lot of people with nice, flashy cars. And there was a guy with a flashy car outside. I remember sitting there in the restaurant with the comedian. We went to grab some lunch. And as we were looking at the car, he said to me that one time he asked his wife, be honest with me. If a guy has a car like that, does that make you want to have sex with him? And she said, yeah. She said, yeah. And then I was like, well, yeah, clearly it works. Because guys keep buying these cars. Someone wants to have sex with them because of these cars. Something's happening for them because of these cars. And you can't tell me that every time you speak to a woman about it, it was like, oh no, man, what? Because he's got a nice car, blah blah blah. But for some reason, these nice cars still keep leaving the lot, and women still keep getting into them. I'm like, so now I asked my wife, and she's like, yeah, I guess so. Like, it's sexy to have a car like that. And I was like, all right, what if I got a car like that? She was like, are you mad? Do you know how much those cars cost? Nah, man, the insurance on that is ridiculous. No, 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 no. Which brings me to the point I'm making. It's sexy. It turns them on, but they don't want it in a husband. It's like their idea of a husband is like everything but sexy. And I know there's an element to which when you want a husband, you need someone who's stable and dependable. If you meet a guy and he's got a fancy car, you don't have to care about his finances. You don't have to care about whether he can actually afford it. It's just your opportunity to sit in a nice car, to see a guy spend some money on you maybe, and to have this wild sexual experience with him. And that's a fantasy, or that's something you can do maybe here and there. But in like real life, you have to do budgets and you have to like make it work and you have to think about life insurance policies and blah 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 blah. The same thing with tattoos, by the way. I asked my wife, like, do you find tattoos on a guy sexy? And she was like, yeah. And I said, but what about me getting a tattoo? And she was like, no, 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 no. So there's some kind of disconnect here. And I've had the brothers tell me, like, hey, bro, why you even care about being sexy? Like, you've already got a wife. You secured your market. Like, yours is good. But I don't think that's how it should be. I don't think that you should just, like, get married, secure someone, and then make a slow march to the grave. I think there's still, why not, like, be sexy to your wife? Why not, like, give her a little excitement in her life? Do you know, I hate the idea that the best is out there. I hate the fact that like we live our lives in a way that like the best of everything is out there and what we have in here is what we can manage with. I don't want to be, a husband that my wife manages with. I wanted to genuinely be excited and revved up and, enthralled with the whole process of us living our lives together. And I think there are a lot of guys that still want to have some edge to them. And if you look at like my generation of married guys, the guys are still kind of still holding on to some sauce. They're still trying to dress well, want to get a nice car, even though they're already married. And by God's grace, they're not doing it to go and pick up other women. But the idea is that like, life doesn't sort of end as soon as you slip the ring on. The idea is that you can still do the things that are sexy. So I spent a lot of time just asking the sisters, what is sexy? What's sexy to you? And I let sisters come up on the stage in Clubhouse, and I was just asking them, in different scenarios, different areas, like what's sexy to you? And the other reason why I asked this is because I feel like what guys find sexy is very obvious and commodified. Like, let's take let's take a stripper's experience, for example. I think we're all pretty clear on what the vibe is when men watch strippers. But when women watch strippers, it's like I see a lot of screaming. I know maybe some women are turned on, but also it seems kind of cartoonish and funny. Like there's definitely like the Chocolate City ones, and those ones, like whenever you see clips from Chocolate City, it looks mad. Like these women have lost their minds. Women are literally doing all sorts of sexual things with these guys. You know, they are grabbing and whatnot. And I don't 100% get it. As in, what I mean, though, I don't get it. I don't get the exact range of emotions that's going on in them. But clearly, there's something visceral and sexual about it. So when you watch a video of these women screaming for these guys who, spend a lot of time in the gym and so on, and then, your missus is kind of like, no, you're nice, like, I'm happy with you and so on. You're just a bit like, hold on a second. I feel like I'm getting the second rate experience over here. At least on this sexual side, this sexual front. Like screaming, And when you look at what some of these guys are wearing at Chocolate Sea, you're like, brother, what is this? What is this outfit, my brother? See, that's another thing about when men are being sexy. I feel like it just doesn't make sense. I feel like when women see other women wearing something sexy, they can see that it's sexy. We all know it's sexy and we all get it. Like, okay, we like the way that this hugs your figure or the way that it reveals this or it draws the eye here or whatever it is. But when these guys come out of Chocolate City, it's like, brother, what is this? What kind of Lil Nas X video are you trying to shoot right now? This is the thing. So, clearly, if you want to be sexy to your wife, it's like, even if you saw her screaming at the Chocolate City event, and I know if you don't know what Chocolate City is, it's like a group of black male strippers that do a show, and like they come to UK and every so often it's mad scandal. There's many videos that go up online and all that kind of stuff. But if you see your like a girl you like respond there, are you now gonna start dressing in that ballet string that they tie up around their body? Like I don't get it. Like, are you supposed to like go and emulate that? Because if you say like, let's say you see a stripper wearing a thong, it's like it's not that crazy to see an average girl wearing a thong. It's like, okay, thongs are widely available, but guys being sexy is almost like a mystery. Like we still trying to figure it out. Like what is actually turning you sisters on, like purely sexually? Because even when we had the discussion on Clubhouse, a lot of it was still kind of linked to I find this attractive. So this could be something that you find nice. It could be something that just makes you feel like, I like this person, but not necessarily what makes you want to have sex with them. Every so often there'll be one of these studies or seminars that I listen to or whatever it is, and they're like, women were asked, what can your man do that turns you on? And they'll say something like, help me with the housework. And I'm like, this is a god darned lie. Can you guys stop with this? I feel like it's like when you tell, when you ask a parent, what could your kid do that would make you want to give them ice cream? And you're like, well, if they do all their homework and they tidy up and do their chores, then I might give them some ice cream. It's like, you don't need all of that to give them ice cream. You're just using the ice cream to get what you want out of the situation. That's fine, but let's not pretend like it's turning you on. And like if you've heard me quote Jimmy Evans before. He's a pastor, he does a lot of marriage content, and he says, he quotes that same kind of statistic, and he'll say that, oh, if you want to be sexy in front of your wife, don't go and do all those things you think are sexy. Just pick up the vacuum cleaner. And I'm like, really? Because I have vivid experience of having done chores to take it off my wife's hands, and she's just like, thank you. And then she goes and watches EastEnders or whatever it is. This didn't turn her on. It might, for example, take some of the stress off of her, which leaves room open for possibly, maybe being open to more sexual contact. But that's not the same as being turned on. I understand how sometimes helping a woman with some of the things she has to get done can free her up. But let's not confuse that with turning on. And I genuinely think, I'm sure there's somebody in here that wants to make fun of me and just be like, bro, you just don't know how to turn women on. And I'm fine. I'll take the L. I don't pretend to be any kind of Casanova. I'm figuring it out every day. And I'm figuring it out with my wife. You see what I'm saying? Like, I've got a lifetime of figuring this thing out and learning, like, what pleases her and so on. But if I'm honest, and I think if we're all honest, I think as guys, I don't think we all 100% have a clue. I think a lot of us are grabbing in the dark, just taking random shots in the dark at what we think might be sexy. We see stuff and we try and follow it, and to varying degrees of success. I think that guys are often going for, they see a guy who seems to get girls, and then they go, well, what does that guy do? I want to do that. Right? So they see, I don't know, 50 Cent. He gets a lot of female attention. So like, okay, I need to be hench. I need to get tattoos. I need to rap. Right? Maybe call these women B's and H's. I feel like if more of us just admitted that we really just don't even know where to start, and if more sisters admitted that they don't even 100% know what turns them on. Sister, like, I feel like the reason why the sisters are giving those answers like, oh, if he does more vacuuming, it's like they don't 100% understand their own sexuality, but it's like, this would be nice to get in the meantime. That's how I feel. I keep prefacing this by how I feel. I can't see how it really is for women, obviously, 100%. But I really feel like this is a real rope a dope you throwing right here. It's like, how convenient that the thing that turns you on is like taking away all the chores that you have to do. Like, if that was yours set up in the house, like that you do, he does this, you do this. But if he comes and does yours, oh, all of a sudden, I'm going to be turned on. And how many guys speak to me as well? How many times is it that like you pick up the vacuum cleaner and your wife usually does it? That was what I heard was the main thing, is that if she usually does it and you then do it, then it now turns her on. How many are you experiencing this? I feel like when you do it, you're just getting a chance to roll the dice. You get a chance to step up to the craps table and roll the dice. It's not the same as turn on. Turn on is a switch. When I press that button, I expect it to be on. What we get is an opportunity to roll the dice. And that is the biggest scam of all time. That guys are so desperate to please and arouse women that women can literally go, I'll give you a shot at maybe arousing me if you do these things for me. Guys are literally buying gifts, spending on girls. Guys are going to the gym. Guys are trying to buy designers and nice cars all day, every day, just to try and somehow just tantalize women. And the vast majority of women are just kind of going, oh my goodness, no. Nah, that's not it. It's one of those ones where I feel like the reason why you're never going to get a clear answer is because there is no clear answer in it. You're going to get what women say. You're going to get the reality of what women actually respond to. You're going to get what you think. You're going to get what you've seen, but it was a manufactured image. You're going to get what porn has sold you maybe as what sexy is. You're going to get women who believe it because they've also watched the same porn as you or the same movie as you, and they believe that this is what turns them on, so they live a lot of their lives believing that they're turned on, and then they get to 40 and go, I'm not sexually fulfilled here, and I've never really truly felt like aroused or turned on by this guy, and I need to go rediscover myself, and I just got so used to saying this turns me on even though it doesn't turn me on. And like literally this is such a complex issue. And I'm sure the conversation veered off the path, but if this is what you guys were discussing till 6 a.m., I'm not even surprised. Now, obviously, one thing we have to mention is that for each sister is different. We were looking for general trends, right? Like there was a general trend that intelligence is sexy. And you can't automatically say that, oh, these are a list of rules, do this, and every woman will be turned on. No. Or everyone will find this sexy. No. But what you can do is kind of learn some general trends. But even when we talked about intelligence, there was like a school of thought that that meant, being a subject matter expert. That you know one thing and you're kind of a leader in your field. And then there was this kind of assertion that, it's sexy when a guy knows a little bit about everything. So he can kind of hold conversation with a varying degree of people. Then I heard maybe the blend of both. So he has his specialty, but he can talk about many things. Now that's something that I value highly. I really value that kind of intelligence. I really think in myself it helps me to do stand up, it helps me to relate with people, it helps me in the way that I think and process ideas, to be able to connect widely disparate ideas and find blends between them. Even when I took my personality test and so on, I got the personality of the debater, and that's one of the key characteristics, is that they take great pride in being able to connect together what seem to be widely disparate pieces of information. That the mental dexterity of it is actually something that's, so I 100% find this to be something that's valuable. But has it turned anybody on? I don't know. I don't know if any of you sisters are watching the podcast and being like, this guy, the way this guy can weave through all these different topics and have a conversation about it, I find this sexy. I don't know. And obviously there's a whole other bunch of other, I'm married, whatever it is. But I'm like, it's just so clear to me that male sexuality and female sexuality are just two completely different things. And I'm not saying male sexuality is simple. I'm just saying I think it's clearer. Because it can be still quite complex. There's still a lot of things at play in male sexuality. But with female sexuality, I just think it's not clear, because I don't think anybody, including women themselves, are often 100% in tune with what their sexuality fully entails. That's my assertion. Come and tell me if I'm wrong, right? I still want to run a live tomorrow, even though I know this is like a holiday break period for you guys. But if you guys could tear yourselves away and join me on Instagram Live, I would like you guys to come and talk to me about this assertion. I had a whole conversation about some of these things in a practical way on Clubhouse, but I want to discuss more of the theory of it. My theory is that not enough people truly understand female sexuality. So when we talk about turn-ons or what is sexy to women, I think there's still a lot of grabbing in the dark, because I find a disparity between what women say turns them on and what they increasingly respond to. I found this with my wife as well. I found this time and time again, that women will say, this is what turns me on. I like a guy who's honest. I like a guy who's polite and, stable and blah, blah, blah. And somehow this rude, all over the gaff kind of guy comes into their life and they are absolute putty in his hands. I'm like, sis, what happened to the whole list you was telling me about? That's why I think, that's why I put that theory forward, that even women don't fully understand it. But I could be wrong. Please come and tell me on Instagram live. Let's vibes. Let's talk. Last one before the new year. If I don't speak to you before then, have a happy new year, man. I wish you all the best for 2021. I pray that our lives will no longer be defined by being told this is a good year or a bad year. You will reap in famine, and you will, even when the circumstances are bad, you will still thrive. That's my prayer for you in the new year. That regardless of what comes, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's another pandemic, whether it's, financial booming, financial waning, whatever it is, you'll thrive. Stay blessed, guys.